In the cold, lonely town of Wyoming, a starving widow and her kids were eating leftovers when a mysterious cowboy entered and said, "Get your things, you're coming home." What happened next will break your heartbroken heart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Red Heart. Where are you watching from? Let's get started. Cowboy hat face. The wind howled across the barren plains of Wyoming as the sun dipped behind the rust-red ridges. Dust swirled like ghosts around the abandoned saloon, and the sound of a lonely harmonica carried through the night air. In that forgotten corner of the world, where tumbleweeds told stories of the past, there lived a woman named Clara Hensley, a widow with 2 children, Eli, aged 9, and June, barely 6. Her husband had died 3 winters ago in a mine collapse, and since then, life had been nothing but a long road of hunger and humiliation. Clara worked in the back of the town's only diner, washing dishes, cleaning tables, sometimes serving beer to men too drunk to remember her name. But she didn't complain. She just wanted her children to survive. It was late one freezing evening when the story began to turn. The lamps in the diner flickered as the last of the men left, leaving behind the stench of whiskey and smoke. Clara wiped the tables with trembling hands, her fingers red from the cold water. She glanced toward her children, sitting quietly in the corner, trying to share a small bowl of leftover stew someone had thrown away. The sight tore her apart. "Eat slow," she whispered, pretending to smile, "it'll fill your belly longer that way." Eli nodded, pretending to. June's eyes shimmered with tears she didn't want her mama to see. Outside, a storm was rolling in. Thunder cracked like the growl of a restless god, and rain began to lash the dusty windows. Clara shivered, wrapping her shawl tighter around her shoulders. The town was silent now, except for the wind, the rain, and the occasional bark of a dog. That's when the door creaked open. At first, she thought it was the wind again, but then heavy footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. A tall shadow filled the doorway. The rain blew in behind him, glistening on his black hat and long coat. He didn't say a word at first, just stood there, letting his eyes adjust to the dim lamplight. Clara's breath caught in her throat. The man looked like he had walked out of a ghost story, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes cold as the steel of a revolver. His boots thudded against the floor as he walked closer. "Kitchen's closed, sir," Clara managed to say, her voice shaking slightly. He didn't answer. His gaze drifted toward the corner, where Eli and June were still eating scraps of bread soaked in old stew. His jaw clenched. For a long moment, he just watched. Then, in a low, gravelly voice that sounded both familiar and frightening, he said, "Get your things." Clara blinked. "What?" He stepped closer. The lamplight caught his face now. A scar under his left eye, the rough beard of a man who had lived too long in the saddle, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. "I said, get your things," he repeated, slower this time. "You're coming home." The diner went dead silent. Even the wind outside seemed to hold its breath. "Home?" Clara whispered. "Sir, I think you have the wrong." "I ain't mistaken," he cut her off. "Now get up, ma'am." Her heart started to race. Who was this man? Why was he talking like that? She looked around, half expecting someone to step in, but the diner was empty. The owner had gone home hours ago. "I don't know you," Clara said, backing away slightly. He looked at her for a long moment, then his expression softened, almost painfully. "Maybe not," he said. "But I know you." She froze. "What do you mean?" He sighed and took off his hat. "Name's Colt Maddox," he said quietly. "I knew your husband. Served with him down in Abilene before the mines. He saved my life once." Her breath hitched. The name stirred something deep in her memory. "You're Colt Maddox," she murmured. "He mentioned you once. Said you were dead?" Colt finished for her, with a grim smile. I've been called that a few times. She didn't know what to say. The room felt smaller now, the air thicker. Colt's eyes went back to the children. Your kids shouldn't be eating scraps in some dusty corner, he said. Not while I'm alive. Sir, you don't understand, she whispered. We don't have anywhere else to go. The mine company took the house when Henry died. The church helped sometimes, but... I said, Colt interrupted, his tone low and firm, get your things. This time, there was something in his voice, something that wasn't a command, but a promise. Clara hesitated, torn between fear and a faint flicker of hope she didn't dare to trust. Where would we even go? She asked softly. Colt's eyes met hers. Home. My ranch. Maddox Ridge. She shook her head. We can't accept that. We don't even know you. He leaned forward slightly, his voice rough with emotion. Ma'am, I buried men for less than what your husband did for me. You don't have to know me. You just have to pack what you got left. For a moment, she just stared at him. The rain hammered the windows. Thunder rolled again in the distance. Then Eli spoke up, his little voice trembling. Mama, can we go? Clara looked at her boy, then at the stranger who'd appeared like a ghost out of the storm. Her hands trembled as she wiped them on her apron. All right, she whispered. All right. We'll go. Colt gave a small nod, like it was settled. By the time they stepped outside, the storm had turned the streets to rivers of mud. Colt led them to a big black horse hitched by the hitching post, its coat glistening with rain. Behind it was a small covered wagon, the kind used by trail riders. Eli and June climbed in under the canvas, clutching each other as thunder cracked overhead. Clara climbed in after them, pulling her shawl tighter. Colt mounted his horse and took the lead. They rode through the storm, the wheels groaning through the mud, lightning flashing over the open plains. Clara tried to stay calm, but fear and confusion churned inside her. Who was this man really? Why was he helping them? Hours passed before they finally saw lights flickering in the distance, a ranch house standing alone against the horizon, fenced and guarded by tall pines. That's Maddox Ridge, Colt said as they approached. It was beautiful in a lonely, wild way, big wooden gates, a windmill creaking in the rain, and a porch that glowed softly with lamplight. Colt dismounted, tied his horse, and helped the children down. You'll stay here now, he said. Ain't much, but it's safe. And it's yours as long as you need it. Clara couldn't find her words. She felt something breaking inside her, a lifetime of exhaustion giving way to something strange and warm. Why? She whispered. Why do this for us? Colt didn't answer right away. He looked out into the rain instead. Because once, your husband dragged me out of a gunfight I started. He said, don't die stupid, Colt. Go make something good out of that second chance. He turned back to her. This is me making good on it. Over the next few weeks, Maddox Ridge became something close to heaven for the little family. Colt fixed the roof, built a new chicken coop, and taught Eli how to ride a horse. Clara cooked again, not scraps, but real food. For the first time in years, laughter echoed through the house. But under that peace, something darker stirred. Colt had enemies. The kind that didn't forget. One evening, as the sun sank red behind the ridge, a rider approached from the south trail, a stranger wearing a black hat and a smile too cold to trust. Afternoon, Maddox, the man drawled. Heard you're playin' family man now. Colt's eyes narrowed. What do you want, Briggs? The man chuckled. Just came to remind you, you still owe me. You think you can walk away from the Black Hollow deal? Black Hollow's dead, Colt said flatly. Just like the men who ran it. Maybe, Briggs sneered. But debts don't die, Maddox. Not till they're paid in blood. Colt's hand twitched near his holster. Briggs noticed. "Don't be stupid," he said. "Wouldn't want the widow to see what kind of man's savon her." Clara had stepped onto the porch just then, holding a lantern. Her eyes widened as she saw the two men. "Colt? What's going on?" "Get inside, Clara," he said softly. Now, Briggs said with a grin, "don't send her away. She deserves to hear how her hero used to ride with outlaws, how he burned wagons for gold and left men to die." Clara froze. "That's not true." Colt didn't deny it. He just looked down, his jaw tight. "Get off my land," he said. Briggs laughed. "Or what? You'll kill me? Then who tells her the rest?" He turned his horse, spitting into the dirt. "You can't hide your past forever, Maddox. It always rides back." As Briggs galloped away, the storm clouds returned, this time, not of rain but of reckoning. That night, Clara sat by the fireplace, her heart torn. "Is it true?" she asked quietly. "What he said?" Colt sat across from her, staring into the flames. "Most of it," he admitted. "I wasn't a good man, Clara. I done things I ain't proud of. Your husband, he was the first decent man who ever trusted me. He changed me. When he died, I promised I'd live different. That's why I came back." Clara studied him. "Then why hide it?" "'Cause I didn't want your kids to look at me like I was one of the bad ones." For a moment, there was only the crackle of the fire. Then she said softly, "Sometimes good men come from dark places, Colt. Maybe God just takes the long road to get them there." He looked up at her, and for the first time, the steel in his eyes melted. Days passed. The air grew tense. Colt knew Briggs would return, he always did. And he was right. It happened just before dawn. Colt was mending a fence when he saw 5 riders cresting the hill. Dust clouds behind them. Guns glinting in the morning light. He didn't have to ask who they were. "Eli," he shouted. "Get your mama inside." Clara ran out onto the porch. "What's happening?" "Trouble," Colt said grimly, loading his rifle. "Lock the doors. Keep the kids low." "Colt." "Do it," he barked. She obeyed. The children clung to her as gunfire split the air. The riders surrounded the house, shouting. "Maddox! Come on out. Let's finish what you started." Colt crouched behind a water trough, firing back. One man fell. Another cried out. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Inside, Clara held June tight, whispering prayers she didn't remember learning. Eli peered through the shutters, his eyes wide with fear. Then, silence. Colt stepped forward cautiously, his rifle ready. But the silence was a trap. Briggs came up behind the barn, revolver in hand. The gunshot echoed like thunder. Colt stumbled, blood blooming across his shoulder. He turned and fired back. Briggs fell from his horse, clutching his chest. Clara screamed and ran outside. "Colt!" He dropped to his knees, breathing hard. "You're safe," he rasped. "That's all that matters." She caught him before he hit the ground. "Don't you dare leave us," she cried. "Don't you dare." He smiled faintly. Guess I paid that debt after all." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "You brought us home, Colt. You can't go now." He reached up weakly, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You and those kids, you're what home looks like." And with that, he fell still. The town buried Colt Maddox 3 days later under the big oak near the ridge. The townsfolk came, men who once called him outlaw, now calling him hero. Clara stood beside the grave, her children holding her hands. The wind was soft that morning. Eli looked up at her. "Mama, will he come back someday?" She smiled sadly. He already did, baby. He came back the day he found us. And as the sun rose over Maddox Ridge, a new kind of peace settled across the land, a peace paid for in blood, in redemption, and in one cowboy's promise that even in a world full of loss, some homes are found, not built.